Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to look at the 1 to 4 player game Monster Expedition, published by Amigo Games. So let's go ahead down to the table here. I'll give you a general overview of how to play the game in general, and then I'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, so this is what a typical setup of Monster Expedition might look like. Now, that we set up here for a 2-player game. What you're going to do is you're going to get all of the 3 cards that match that player. So this is going to be 1. So player 1 would get this and 2 other little camps. Player 2 get their 3 camps where it marks player 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then so on. These camps are slightly different to adjust for player order. And once that is done, you're going to separate out all the cards that have this back. I have the sleeve on it, but have this back right here. These are your starting cards. They'll go out. You'll shuffle this deck of monsters here. Now you'll take out a number based in the rule book of how many players you're going to be playing with. So some cards might be taken out. You're going to place 3 of them in your little market row, and then you're going to lastly, you're going to place this monster dealer right here, which is always available. All right, so then once that's all set up, your goal in the game is to get the most points, and you're going to get points through the game in 2 different ways. You're going to get points for your monsters, which is number up here, and then you're going to get points if you buy caged monsters, which will be flipped over, and they'll be worth the points that are on the bottom of this card. So this card here is worth 3 points if you capture it normally, and 1 point if it's already caged. Now, you're going to roll dice on your turn, and to do this, you're going to pick one of your camps. Now, it's important which camp you pick because that's going to determine which monsters you are eligible to get. So this camp here, you can get any of the monsters like this. See a little symbol on there, tells you which one it can be. If you do the blue camp, you can get any of these blue monsters. If you do the green camp, you can get any of these monsters, and there's some that are available for any camp. But when you select your camp, you can see what dice you roll. You also, on this chart, can see what numbers each dice can roll. And what you're going to do, so let's say there's a lot of these monsters out here. There's some that don't take a lot of points to get, so I'm going to pick this one. So I'm going to get 2 black dice and a yellow die. And one of the really cool things with the game is the lid can actually be used to roll dice in. Because of the noise, we're not going to actually do that. We're going to move these dice off to the side, and I'm going to show you what you do on your turn and roll. When you roll, you're going to have a choice. You can take a unique die. So I could take this 9, which is really hard to see, or these 2 3s. So you're going to take all of one number. So let's say I take the 9, because it's just, you can only have a 9. You can only have, the highest you can have in this is 10. So yeah, I'll take the 9. So I bank that die. Now I can roll these 2 dice. Now I have a 2 and a 1. Now, I'm probably going to want to bank this 2 and then try to roll again. Now, this is a good example. If this happens and I have a die that I rolled here and it matches, and I don't have any other die I can pick, and it matches one of the dice in here, I lose the die of the highest number. I then get to re-roll this. If I rolled a 2 again, I lose this 2, and then I can re-roll this again, and I can bank my 6. Now, so there's a little bit of push your luck in the game. You see the distributions on here, so you get a general idea of what's going to happen. And I probably wouldn't want to did what I did, just because I didn't want to lose that 9. You could stop at any time, and then you just take the numbers that you had, and you go with them. So let's say I had that. So that's going to be a 9, a 4, and a 2. So that's 15 points. So I have 15 points that I can use to spend to get monsters up here. So what's going to happen there is I can only take, because when you pick your camp, you actually move it forward. I didn't do that, but you move it forward. So I can only take one of these. I probably want to take the 12. Now, when you take a captured monster, you're going to put it in your play area. These monsters all have different bonuses. I'm not going to go over all the different bonuses, but just know that a lot of them have bonuses. This one here specifically is going to say that if I have a set, so if I have this, the blue, and the green, so I have a set, I can now add an extra black die. So that's really nice. So they all have bonuses to help you get more monsters. The other things you can do in the turn, so that would go in my play area. Then the other thing you could is if you ever get 40 points, you can just activate this, and this is just simply going to be 6 cages off the top of the deck. Now, like you can see that you don't get nearly as many points, generally 1 or 2 points for caged monsters, and you get to see it and no one else does. But this deck here is the timer for the end of the game. Once this deck runs out, everyone who hasn't taken a turn yet, that's the first player, gets to take one more turn, so everyone has even number of turns, and then the game ends, and then you simply add up the score. So that's the other thing you can do. One of the other cool things that can happen on your turn is if you look at this base here, so it's my turn, if I had a 1 die, see this number right here, I can rotate this base. Rotating the base makes it better. So now I'd have 3 dice and 1 yellow. Turn it again, I'd have 4 dice and 1 yellow. Turn it again and I'd have 4 dice and 1 yellow, yes, but then I can, if I do it one more time, see how it has the area up there, I can flip it over. And now I could keep upgrading it more and more and more, and then on the final one I get 2 cages too, so I get some point. Once it gets to the end, you can't upgrade it anymore. One of the other things to keep in mind is that's your turn, so that's the numbers that you can use on your turn to rotate or upgrade the die. You can only do it once per camp per turn, but you could do some on other players' turns. Like if you look at this, I'll turn this way so you can see it real well. If you look at this one, see how I have a picture of the 2 little people? If someone rolls a 10 on their turn, not your turn, you can upgrade your base on other players' turns. So it's really fun upgrading the base, get more coins, and then you can also, get more dice, and then you can also capture monsters to get more dice. And you're going to continue this until the deck runs out and the game ends. So that is the general idea of how to play Monster Expedition. There's a couple more rules, but that's it. That's the gist. You're going to be running through the game. You're going to be trying to push your luck on your dice rolls. You're going to be watching what your other players roll to try to upgrade your base. You're going to try to look at all these monsters coming out on here to try to get the best bonuses in there. And there's a lot of different types of monsters in here, which are really cool. Some of them, like this one here, I really like. This one here lets you rotate your base on other players' turns for a 7, the blue one. So you could really rocket up your points that you roll on a turn. You can get more dice out there. You can do a lot more stuff. There's a lot to this game. But as a simple primer, that's it. That's all the basics you really need to know. Oh, I did forget to mention that you can also purchase these cards here. These cost 10 each. So you can actually purchase straight from the deck if you needed to. I mean, you couldn't afford anything out. You definitely wouldn't want to do that unless you had to, but that is also an option. So let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on Monster Expedition. So Monster Expedition. I started out reading the rules, and I wasn't too sure how much I would like the game, but after playing it, I really, really like this game. This game, between push your luck with the dice on your turn to try to see how many points you can get to buy monsters or cages, between the upgrading of the bases and selecting which bases that you use, which will determine which monsters you can get. I love that you get to potentially upgrade your different bases on other players' turns, so you're invested in what they roll. You're trying not to bring in too much attention to yourself, but you get super excited when they roll that die and they keep it and they bank it, and you get to upgrade your base at the end of the turn. Really, really good. There's a lot of strategy to the game that I didn't see initially, in what bases you upgrade, what base you pick at the beginning of your turn, what monsters do you bring in, do you match them up to unlock their abilities, all the different cool things there. How you go after the monsters or cages is very important in this game. Using that monster seller, I don't remember the name of the card is, but whether you're going to get a whole bunch of cages through that repeatedly through the game to deplete the deck really quick, because you might have a ton of monsters that you got that are high value, or you believe that you're going to have the most points at the end, but you just need to get the game done so your other opponents won't catch completely up to you. So there's a lot of strategy in the game. There's a lot of paying attention to other players' turn, which I think is super important in smaller games like this, where you need to be invested in other players' turns, especially since they can take a little bit of time, because they're got to decide whether they want to push their luck, and then they got to decide based on what they have, and they may not have got what they wanted, so they have to decide based on what they have what they want to get. So it's really cool that you're invested in other players' turns, so the game feels like it moves very quickly. It is also a very fluid game too, which is really good, because you just go straight around the game ends good, and you have a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a wonderful card game to play with your friends and family that has a good amount of depth, but is really still this is a pretty easy game to teach. So you could teach this to people new to the hobby, which is a great bonus. Plus, you can get through a couple different games. So you can actually, this is the type of game where you can be like, okay, I'm going to teach you this game. There's not a whole lot to it. We're just going to play through a game, and then we'll play it again. So don't feel any pressure or anything. Just learn how things go. Great game. I was very surprised at how much I like this game, and definitely worth a play. So that's my thoughts on Monster Expedition. Thank you for watching.